What's going on, all you happy knife hooligans? Welcome back to A Therapeutic Edge. It is nice to have you here today. When We Carry Knives is making us some ribs. So if you hear some tinfoil going, that's what's going on. I'm very excited about the ribs. It's nice to have you here. I have something new on the table from Bestech. This is their new line of budget knives. Now, I hear you, they already make budget knives. I've had many of them, but apparently they have decided to follow the Civivi Sencut model of knife thing and create a new brand oriented towards their budget stuff, which tells me that the Bestech line is going to be mostly expensive stuff going forward, but that's okay. They do a great job. They always have. This is no exception, but this is their new line. It is called Bestech Man. And every time I say that, I see a guy in a skin-tight suit with a big B on his chest leaping into the sky. Bestech Man. That's right. Hey, you know, they didn't ask me. They just went ahead and did it, and here we are. And their first knife, well, I like it. It's called the Dundee. It is an Ostap Hell design. It is D2, G10, steel liners, all the old familiar bells and whistles. But I like this thing, and they're coming in at about $45 right now online, which is very cool. Let's take a look at what you get. First, you get a really, they call it a clip point blade. Okay-ish. Doesn't matter. It is very pretty, right? It's got their Bestech Man logo on it, which is a man standing in a thing. I don't know what that is. Maybe you guys can tell me. Anyway, there's that. On this side, it says Ostap Hell, and the design, it says, in fact, Ostap Hell design, in case, why are we not focusing? Focus, there we go. It's a very straightforward knife. It's got very clean lines. I do like the G10. It's got a nice stamped steel clip that is well and truly married down into the G10, so there's nothing to interfere with it climbing into your pocket. It is left and right hand compatible, but it is a liner lock, so it isn't fully ambidextrous, but you can carry it that way, which is a nice feature. They have a new pivot, which is very cool. Hang on just a second, gang. Sorry about that. We were having a discussion about how the ribs were going, and now I'm back. Did you miss me? I know that you did. All right, the Bestechman Dundee. Bestech Man. I'm a big fan of simple yet well-made knives. This is one of those. If they lean into this new budget line the same way they've been making their budget-friendly stuff from the beginning, they're going to be very popular and very successful because they are all very well made. This is no exception. I love this sort of neutral handle shape. The blade is pretty, as you can see. It's got a little bit of black wash on the inside of that fuller that runs almost the length of the blade. It's well chamfered, right? It's nice and sharp. The overall knife, I guess I could just say it's well done again and be done with it, right? Because that's what it is. It's got some jimping back right here where your thumb lands. The liner lock is, when I first saw this, I thought, well, it's not going to be very accessible, but it is. The way they did this, it's got just enough differential in height that your thumb gets a hold of it and it just comes closed beautifully. And here's the one thing, though. Metal Complex calls this the double clutch. There is a space between when you release it and when the detent ball catches the blade, and it's right here. So you lock it and open it. Now, turns out most of the time when I push it forward, I get past that spot naturally, but it does hang up right there sometimes. Just something to be aware of. There's a little bit of double clutch going on there. Now, I'm guessing it's T8 and T6s, which is how it looks. Yeah, T8 pivot, T6s everywhere else. Very clean design. There are inset liners on both sides, so it is reasonably stable and secure. Again, stamped steel clip. It's a little shallow right here. I think if you're putting it into really thick jeans, you might have to give it a little help, but because it's reasonably flexible, that's not going to be a terribly big issue either. It's got two standoffs back here, giving it its support at the rear, and you could use this top one based on clearance from the blade very easily as a lanyard post, if you're into that sort of thing. I'm not, but you might be, and that's cool. Let's get the basic specs out of the way while we're looking at it. Excuse me. You were looking at a little over 3 1/4 of cutting on 3.5 inches of D2 blade steel. The grip area from behind that flipper tab is coming in. Because when I hold it, I tend to come up on the gripper, a little on the flip gripper. Wrong knife. Flipper just a little bit, so we'll measure from there. You're looking at 3 3/4, which is honestly, it's perfect for my hands. So if you've got hands that are leaner than mine, and this is going to fit perfectly, but because there's no lump back here, even if your hands are bigger and come off the end a little bit, there's nothing to make you feel uncomfortable. It is, again, as with all the Bestech sort of budget-friendly stuff, exceptionally well done. Do I wish they had picked another name besides Bestech Man? Yes, I do. But hey, here we are. It is 8 inches, basically dead even, which is very nice. The closed length on this guy is coming in at 1, 2, 3, 4. I know how to count, and just about 3/4. Closed profile. Now, it does have a fairly prominent flipper, but again, everything is chamfered. A little bit of jimping is not too aggressive and rough, and beyond that, it is very lean in the pocket. We are looking at 1 1/8 inches, the absolute thickest. So when the Dundee here is down in your pocket, and it is deep carry, not, you know, like I keep saying, it's not like vanish into the nethers deep carry. This will work. See, you get about that much knife sticking out. Not too bad at all. I do want to point out back here on the tail, like even the G10 is chamfered down. It is a very smooth knife when you're holding it. No sharp edges, except right where you want it. The bevel lines on the grind are very even, which is nice to see. I do not know the grind angle. It's sharp and it cuts. At $45, that's not bad. Now it is marked D2 in here. There's a little, so this gray sort of the black wash that's inside the fuller does extend down into the back of the blade, so you can see what they did is they actually black washed the whole blade, and then when they were doing the grind, it all came off, and that is very even and very well done. Action is, I mean, it's really smooth, gang. It is. If you get just past that little bit of double clutch, but even if you got to push a little beyond that, it just drops, which is really nice. Let's do some size comparisons with knives you may be more familiar with. We'll go ahead and line that up right there. We'll start small today. Here it is against the bug out. And as you can see, the Dundee is just a little bit longer than the bug out. And of course, $100 less money, which is never a bad thing. Going up the scale, here it is against the Para 3. And you can see it is, of course, considerably leaner than the Para 3, but you get a lot more cutting surface. Here it is against the PM2. This is a relatively special PM2. This, of course, is the Tanto PM2. And as you can see, the PM2 is just a little bit longer in the handle, but you get more cutting, of course, on the Bestech Man. On the Bestech Man Dundee. This thing is cool. Like this, I am in love with this knife. Side note, I have my PM2 that I've had for a while. This is one of the first S45VN versions, which I think is very cool. I have been kind of wrestling with whether or not to put titanium scales on this, but I think I'm going to do it here because I think that this black blade with gray titanium scales and a black clay. Anyway, I think this is going to look really good. Oh, I got a little schmutz on it because I've been using it. Anyway, so here's the final size comparison. It's a little bit smaller than a PM2. I know what I'm doing. Shh. Let's go ahead and weigh it out. I don't think it's going to be very heavy. It's not a terribly large knife overall. It's a very lean and clean design. Excuse me. We are coming in at, 3.3 ounces for a little over 3 1/4 of cutting. This is right there at that ounce per inch that the hardcore EDC gang really like to lean into. Now, this is not a hard use knife. You know, you're not going to take this thing out and beat the crap out of it like you would one of the Spydercos or, you know, maybe a Southern Grind, an M4. There's a video for this coming as well. But for daily carry, everyday use, the Bestech Man, the Bestech Man Dundee done did it right. I like this thing, and I think you will too. Here's the interesting thing. It's not really standouty. It's not particularly shouty, right? It's just a knife, but sometimes that's what you want. Let's go ahead and get the final specs here. Let's get that to the right thing. I think it's a relatively lean slice. Down here at the thickest point, we're talking about just over 3 millimeters. The handle at the very thickest, and since everything's rounded, but it does have a flat right here in the middle, so that's where we'll go. We're talking about just under 12 millimeters, which is well under ½ an inch. This is a reasonably priced, well-made, reasonably attractive, and well-sorted EDC tool. And I hope they have just great success with the entire Bestech Man line. And by the way, if you're still with me, I hope you're still here. This will be in the description as well. Right now, if you use the code Bestechman15, Bestechman15, you get 10% discount when you check out. And that's on the Bestech site. And I'll post some other links where these are available. Now, don't ask me why Bestech 15 is for 10%, but again, nobody asked me. So there's a discount code in case you want to bring one of these into your life. They do come in a bunch of different colors. We just happen to like the gray one quite a bit. And on that note, we're going to go ahead and end it. This is the Bestechman Dundee, a new line, the Bestech Man line from the folks at Bestech. They make excellent knives. This is no exception. Check one out. I think you'll like it. All right, take care, guys.